that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. Being rooted in love, we believe that all human beings should be treated with dignity and respect. On this hill, we seek hope, love, justice, together in community. And whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, and whatever your life circumstances, you are welcome here. At this time, I would invite you to rise in body or spirit as you feel so called, and let's sing our hymn of gathering. It is our tradition in Hope Unitarian Church to light a chalice at the beginning of each service. And today we light that chalice and say these words together. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. You may be seated. This morning's invocation comes from Reverend Scott Taylor and says, "Come, let us listen with new ears. Do you hear it? That voice, so familiar yet so far, less a longing and more a knowing, a whisper of something inside that seems to have known us longer than we've known it. Come, let us listen together." And if you would read our covenant together with us this morning. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. And at this time, I would invite you to rise in body or spirit as you feel so called, as we sing hymn number 112. That is, Do You Hear? So please rise in body or spirit as you feel so called.
It's It's a beautiful day to think about candy and kids. Exactly a week from today is trunk or treat, and the weather is looking marvelous, knock on wood. I wanted to just give you a couple of little things about it. We are expecting around 200 children. We had 130 to 150 last year, and it's been more marketed this year. So this is our chance to show off to some people what we can do for the community. The hours of it are from 3 to 5, which is when we're going to be serving kids, or if we have to shut down early because we're out of candy. If you're going to do your trunk, we're asking you to come up about 2:30 or so and get set up. And the way it's going to be is the families and kids will park in our main parking lot, and then we're going to do the trunk or treat in our lower parking lot. So everybody will come up, set up in the lower parking lot so that they can come around and get set. Okay. We need a couple of people that really want to be jiving and flashing and in sync that will wear the orange vests and help direct traffic. I've got brand new ones, so if you want to look like a road worker. So we need a few more people to do that, and the more people that agree to do it for 20 minutes at a time, the less people it takes. And I need some people still to come up around 2 o'clock or so and help me set up the little tent that they're going to walk through and what basic decorations we're going to do. And of course we need candy that day and before then. And please don't make me cry or beg for any more of this. It's not a pretty sight, and I know you guys will come through. So if you have any questions about it, if you can lend a hand, the sign-up sheet is still out there, or contact me. And thank you, Anita, for giving me some minutes. Yes, bring your own candy, but we didn't want everybody to think, that they had to do all of it. So, okay, thank you.
Okay. Game night is canceled this month. And I want you to save the date of the Southwest UU Women's Conference. It's March 21st through the 25th. In Houston, in Clear Lake, Texas. Carol already told you about trunk or treat. If you donate $120 to NPR, the public radio station, you get a $20 voucher to Southwood. And if you're not going to use that, please give it to Julia Harris via her email so that she can use it to buy plants for the church. It's a win-win. NPR, I don't know about y'all, but it's always on in my car. The November generosity recipient will be the UUA Disaster Committee. So we want you to know that, in November, we really need to come through for those hurricane victims. Next week at Adult Forum is the Civil Rights Trail by James Donovan, and I think that'll be good. So show up for that. And I want to thank all who did feed the homeless. It really does take a village, shopping, cooking, serving, driving the stuff down there, all that. Gardens and Grounds cleanup is Saturday, October 26th from 9 to 12. And that's just getting the, gardens and grounds ready for winter. So please come if you can. I forgot to say my name's Anita Ward, but I'm Anita Ward. Thank you, Rebecca. And I was supposed to say, and now Rebecca wants to tell us something. I didn't write it down. Go on, it's not pretty good.
Hi, friends. I am Rebecca Jones. I'm one of the tri-chairs of the auction. Myself along with Gail Hawk and James Donovan. And y'all need to come to the auction. And I'm looking around and I see lots of people who've already bought their tickets, which I think is awesome. But you guys who haven't yet, 47 of your very best friends are going to be there. So y'all should come too, right?
And it's fun.
And it's so much fun. And I did want to explain something that, for some reason, some people get confused about this. When I say the live auction is Saturday, November 9th at 5 o'clock, what I mean is the live auction, entertainment dinner, silent auction, gift card pull, etc., etc. So when I say live auction and you buy a ticket for the live auction, it's not just to come hear James as the auctioneer. It's the whole evening. We just say live auction for short. What else was I going to say about that?
The silent auction.
The online auction is, well, it's a lot of fun too, but it lasts from the 3rd through the 9th, the morning of the live auction. And there's lots of cool things to bid on. People have started bringing their donations. They're out there on that table with the blue tablecloth. And that's fun. And if you're going to be out of town and you still want to participate in the auction, you can do it online. And one of the things what else was I going to say? Well, we gave a little incentive for people to buy their tickets early. Buying your tickets early helps us plan. That's basically it. But you can still come. You can still buy tickets right up until November 3rd. But our incentive for buying your tickets early is this $50 gift certificate to In Spirit, which is the UU bookstore. And I have some names. I have all the names of people who bought early. And Justin has agreed to choose a name for us. So, yes, thank you. The drum roll is appreciated.
Not that confusing.
Hey, will you read the name, please?
Claudia Vandiver.
Yay, Claudia! Well, she's not here, so we don't get the excitement of having her run up and grab her gift certificate.
Her foot. She probably
But-
won't be running.
Or limp up, or whatever. But anyway, she will get this, and I really appreciate all of you who have bought tickets early. But again, I say there's plenty of time to buy a ticket. And I did also want to say that I came here. This is not auction related. I came here this morning feeling really good because I finally found a pair of jeans that fits me exactly like I want them to. And y'all know, that's hard. But now that I found them, I'm going to get some black ones and some dark blue ones and etc. And so I felt really good until right up when I started to walk in here, and David and Jacob told me that I forgot to upload the slideshow. Because I do the slides every week. I'm the one to blame or praise. And I just forgot to upload them to Dropbox. So what you're seeing here today is a cobbled version from past slideshows. So just in case you wondered why the heck it says October 13th when it's really October 20th, that's why. That's it.
Let's give Rebecca a hand for always doing the slides. And the three people chairing the auction are Rebecca, James, and Gail. And Rebecca and Gail are both here. James seems to be somewhere else, but that's okay. Oh, he's in Chicago. So if you two would stand up. The auction is a pain in the neck to plan, and it's a very fun night. If you two would stand up, we want to give you thanks for planning. Our meditation this morning by Reverend Scott Taylor is who we listen to is who we become. Let us turn inward in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Sometimes the world outside us can be so loud, making it hard to hear those voices we once knew so well. Voices that once knew us so well. And so to silence we turn to listen for the echoes of memories that make us whole. The pain of others that reawakens our hearts. In the beauty of this wildly generous world that wants us back. Friends, in the quiet of this space, let us not just listen for clarity and guidance, but to become larger. Those voices whispering from deep within are not just calling us home, they are home. We don't have conversations, we are our conversations. We must remember who we listen to is who we become. What we listen for determines our path. Yes, sometimes the world outside us can be so loud, and so may the stillness we find here. Companion us and care for us, ensuring that we never get lost. So be it. Amen.
Our reading today is by James Luther Adams. A faith that is not the sister of justice is bound to bring us grief. It thwarts creation, a divinely given possibility. It robs us of our birthright of freedom in an open universe. It robs the community of the spiritual riches latent in its members. It reduces us to beasts of burden in slavish subservience to a state, a church, or a party, to a self-made God. That way lies the grinding rut and tyranny of the super-patriotic line, the Nuremberg line, and the Moscow line. Different though these lines are from each other in their fear and obstruction of freedom, to try to manipulate or domesticate the integrity of freedom is to rely upon the unreliable. An attempt that ends in reliance upon unjust, arbitrary power and upon unjust, arbitrary counsels. Sooner or later, the arbitrary confronts either stagnation from within or eruption from both without the within. The stars in their courses fight against it.
We are the journey takers.
We are the music makers. I think it important to give a trigger warning for my sermon today, as this sermon came from a reading of The Handmaid's Tale, that there will be a section in explaining what that story is that deals with sexual assault and rape. And I know that that's a difficult subject for some people, so I wanted to give that one before we started. I think commonly we as modern people misunderstand what prophecy is. If you read much fantasy or listen to modern commentators on the Bible or other religions, one might think that the prophetic voice comes from a drug-induced trance or magical power that overrides the human spirit in such a way that speaks through the person without the person's consent. People think of prophecy as akin to some kind of magic that predicts the future and makes human agency inconsequential. But I assure you this is not the case. Prophecy is not magical. It's intuitional. It uses all the parts of the human being that would cry out against injustice or oppression. Prophecy is not the ability to tell the future, but the ability to reason multiple paths that may lay before us. Prophecy is speaking truth to power. James Luther Adams says, religious liberalism affirms the moral obligation to direct one's effort towards the establishment of a just and loving community. It is this which makes the role of the prophet central and indispensable in liberalism. To Adams, prophecy is central to the goals of religious liberalism. I don't know if we think about the goals of our faith very often, but we do in fact have goals in this faith. We have purpose, what other theologians might call an eschatology, or a theology of the end times. Our eschatology, as it were, is defined best by Rebecca Parker and is called a radically realized eschatology. This means very simply that we are working towards building a heaven on earth, and while at the same time living in that heaven on earth through our community. The term heaven may trigger some strange images, so let's say we're building a beloved community on earth while at the same time living in one through the precepts that we live out in these walls, trying our best to figure out what a beloved community would look like. When I would articulate to my father that I believed something he'd said or done or some limit he'd put on me was not fair, his response was always, life is not fair. And this may be the case outside of these walls. Now understand, I have no illusion that life's lack of fairness does not bleed into these walls. How could it not? There is no place here not touched by the faltering hands of the human condition. But in a radically realized eschatology, we build first within the walls of this church the world that we would try to build outside these walls. No, not the lighting of the chalice or the music, though those things are wonderful, but we work to build a place where all people can find acceptance, knowing that we will fail, but also in understanding that the church is a microcosm of the future community. We are the testing ground for what will become a beloved community. This is evidenced in the principles of Unitarian Universalism that call us to treat one another with dignity, but also our shared values that center love from which justice and equity flow. And it's the role of the prophet that speaks to the value, or that speaks that value into the world that is not fair. It's the role of the prophet to agitate some, to comfort others. It's the role of the prophet to speak and work for justice in the larger community. It's the role of the prophet to speak truth to power. But these prophets are not bound to Unitarian Universalism. We find these prophets in all manner of faith traditions, in places not bound to faith. Which brings me to a speculative fiction book by Margaret Atwood called The Handmaid's Tale. The story is centered around a handmaid named Offred. That's not her actual name. It's the name given to her to identify her station in her slavery. In this fictional world, birth rates have begun to fall to drastic levels, and different countries deal with this in different ways. In this dystopian story, the United States falls into a totalitarian, theocratic dictatorship. The leadership of the Republic of Gilead, which is the former eastern part of the United States, believes that the decline in birth rate is a judgment from God, thusly creating a society based on what the director of the TV show called a perverse reading of the Old Testament. For example, the nature of the handmaid. The handmaid is little more than breeding stock, based off a misreading of a story in Genesis, where Abram and Sarah are unable to have children, so Sarah has Abram lie with her handmaid Leah, and Leah becomes pregnant to a child who would later be named Ishmael. In this story by Atwood, handmaids are ceremoniously and systematically raped by the elite who have been unable to get pregnant with their wives. These women exist only as breeders and are chosen because they have been pregnant before. Women who are unable to have children because they are sterile are called unwomen. In this fictional society, women have little purpose other than birthing children. This story, written in 1995, explores themes of patriarchal dominance, systemic abuse, and the use of religious narrative for power. The religion of the Handmaid's Tale is not Christianity, though it may seem to have been perverted, though it may seem to have perverted many of the characteristics. Its religion is only truly looking to garner power. Whether you read the books or have seen the TV show, you know what handmaids are dressed like. Since this book in the last few years has offered clarion call in response to modern political and religious movements, handmaids dress in all red with a white head covering that hides their face. At the time, I could turn on the nightly news some years ago and see women dressed as handmaids to protest various political movements. The story imagines a totalitarian United States based on religion's themes. It is important to remember, however, that the faith in this story is not Christianity. It is a perversion of Christianity. Now, I know it's difficult to imagine an America where leaders use some kind of faith as a tool for political power. Yet that is the story. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the chuckling. You never know if a joke is going to land after telling a story about the Handmaid's Tale. And though the story is called speculative fiction, Margaret Atwood goes on to say, I didn't put in anything that we haven't already done. We're not already doing. We're seriously trying to do, coupled with trends that are already in progress. So all of those things are real, and therefore the amount of pure invention is close to nil. And as I look into the political landscape, I begin to see Atwood emerge as more than a fiction writer, but a prophet. I believe we can turn to writers like Atwood and Octavia Butler, who wrote the parable of the sower, and Kindred as prophetic voices. I can see echoes of these books in Christian nationalism. In fact, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, it was not uncommon to see women dressed as handmaids from Atwood's book protesting silently outside of the Supreme Court. There is no doubt a movement in the United States toward Christian nationalism. Like the religion of the Handmaid's Tale, Christian nationalism perverts Christian ideals. One of the most prominent places we see this concept playing out is in our own state, in Oklahoma, where Ryan Walters, in this past June, in a letter ordering schools to begin incorporating the Bible into curriculums from grades 5 through 12, saying that adherence to this mandate is compulsory. Walters wants to spend $3 million to fund this mandate. The high cost has to do with which Bibles the mandate requires. Not just any Bibles, but a Bible with the United States Pledge of Allegiance, Constitution, and Declaration of Independence. Currently, Oklahoma is soliciting bids due to the requirement of the extra biblical material. The starting price for many of these Bibles is about $60 a piece, and some as expensive as $90. And though that price alone might give one pause, that's not the worst part of the deal. The worst part is that it feels like government is forcing religion into a place where religion is not supposed to be. In doing so, it's chipping away at the separation of church and state. Another problem with this idea is that the fact is the Bible has no meaning without interpretation. Now, I want to say that again, and I want to double down on it because people may argue with me about it. There is no common sense interpretation of the Bible. So if anyone tells you that, there is no common sense interpretation of a book written over 1,000 years, 2,000 years ago. The Bible has no meaning without interpretation. Without someone interpreting it, it's just disjointed collection of stories, poetry, and religious laws that do little good or bad to anyone. In fact, I would say that it's easier to interpret the Bible badly than it is to interpret it well. Then I look at the additional American material, and other than the idea that the biblical material is mandated, that addition of material scares me just about as much as the other. Because what's happening is that a government entity is now mandating not just the Bible, but a nationalistic version of the Bible. I can say without question that the original authors and editors of the Christian Bible had no idea there would ever be a Pledge of Allegiance. The Bible makes Christianity American, and it lashes it together with nationalistic values. I own many Bibles, and there is a good reason that none of them have the Pledge of Allegiance, Constitution, or Declaration of Independence. And that reason is very simple. Those things have nothing to do with the Bible. The Bible is not an American book. And many of you probably agree with me on many of those sentiments. But you may be still asking, isn't this connection between The Handmaid's Tale and the Bibles in schools a bit of a stretch? Maybe. But I think the conversation about Christian nationalism is about much more than Bibles, and I'm just using Bibles as an example. In the last few years, though we've made some very important strides, we have moved backwards regarding the separation of church and state. I'm speaking directly of the revoking of Roe versus Wade and the limitation of birth control. Even before Roe v. Wade was set to make its way to the Supreme Court again, a case brought by Hobby Lobby about certain requirements of the Affordable Care Act made the news. The question was, is Hobby Lobby exempt from a requirement to offer birth control in its insurance plan based on religious belief? The Supreme Court struck down the requirement. Following the repeal of Roe v. Wade, we also saw a number of states try to criminalize abortion by arguing that residents of those specific states are violating the law by traveling to a different state to receive care. This is a question about agency, and it's a statement about women slowly losing the rights of agency over their own bodies and various issues that should, let's be honest, simply stay between a doctor and the patient. Those issues are now very political and are being made by people, let's also be honest, who don't have the body parts to really be mandating these rules. And though there's still a good distance between Margaret Atwood's Gilead and the United States of America, there seems to be an echo. And this makes me reflect on the importance of books like Atwood's Handmaid's Tale or Octavia Butler's Kindred, or both that tend to end up on the banned and challenged books list. See, remember this quote from Atwood: "I didn't put in anything that we haven't already done. We're not already doing, we're seriously trying to do, coupled with trends that are already in progress." And this is in 1995. So all of those things are real, and therefore the amount of pure invention is close to nil. One of the examples she gives is Iran, and one of the other common examples given in the context of seeing these things play out is comparing Afghanistan now to Afghanistan in the 1980s, that saw women in miniskirts with long flowing hair that was showing, and it was considered to be one of the most forward-thinking countries in the Middle East. Until power masquerading as religion took over. But remember, this sermon began as a story about prophecy. Even now, the world, and especially the United States, is full of prophets trying to get a message out, a message of love and acceptance, and of a separating wall between church and state. Because a state Christianity would not be the Christianity of our parents, it would be something new. It would be something not patriotic but nationalistic, something not American but new, something that perverts the intention of both the United States and Christianity themselves. So as we go forth today, I encourage you to listen for the prophets and learn to be a prophet yourself. Not for some deity that we all have to serve because the rules say so. Not that. But be a prophet for freedom and justice. Be a prophet for love. Be a prophet and speak up when you believe that you can be helpful, because you never know whose opinion you're going to change. And most of all, be a prophet by voting in November. Raise your hand if you've already voted. I know there's some others that aren't here. Unitarian Universalism is very connected to the concept of democracy. I would never tell you who to vote for, but I will tell you that one of the main ways we make change in this country is by voting. James Luther Adams says the role of the prophet is central to liberal religion. And the question is, who is the prophet? And I think that is easily answered in the title of one of his books, where we are a prophethood of all believers. You are a prophet. I am a prophet. And it is our job, it is important that we speak truth to power when it's necessary and when we have a truth to speak. Thank you. Our generosity recipient for the month of October is Meals on Wheels of Metro Tulsa. If you would like to donate directly to our generosity recipient, you can write a check and put generosity in the memo line. If you would like to use cash, you just put your cash in the basket. And if you would like to have your cash go towards the operating fund, you can put it in the envelope. So if you have no notation on your checks, they will be applied to the operating fund. One of the other ways we work prophetically is by giving to the places that need us. So give with hope and love for the future. Sorry, I got tangled up. Let's give thanks for the offering. We build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves by fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. We are ever bound in community. Our final hymn today will be Voice Still and Small. Hymn number 391. And I invite you to rise and body your spirit as you feel so called. Chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fires of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We are a prophethood of all believers. So go forth and be such.